I defend my right to tell the truth to the British people about the abuse of our homes and communities that is facilitated by some in our asylum and immigration system, in our courts and tribunals, in the name of kindness and virtue signalling. Our critics attack us. They say it's heartless and cruel, or bizarrely far right, to believe that the people who've lived all their lives in our country should have a say in how many more people come to it. To aver that the people who come to our country should respect our laws, traditions and culture, and finally that if they don't, they should be sent back to where they come from. The number of foreign national offenders subject to deportation action living in the community has risen year on year for the last decade and has now reached nearly 12,000, a 192% increase from 2012. That's 12,000 criminals free to roam our streets while they exploit our legal system at taxpayers' expense to stay here longer. And as this number has climbed over the last decade, the number of people we are returning to other countries has fallen. We must raise our eyes and stop thinking that the United Kingdom is uniquely afflicted with this problem and that our own government is the only one battling. Every country around the world is dealing with spiralling immigration. None have ready solutions. All face the same issues of democratic consent. Of course, many of these aspire to come to European nations in the West, including the UK, and we have always done our part in this country. In the UK, net migration has been a major component of population growth over the past 2 decades, making up 60% of the growth from 2001 to 2020. It is a fact of human nature, Mr. Gray, that not everybody is a good person. The vast majority are good people, but proportionately more bad people will be among their number. In this country, we are open-hearted, generous and tolerant to those who treat us with respect and are willing to abide by our laws. But we have all seen the examples of people that we have welcomed to our homes who only wish to harm or kill us, our families and our communities. They are people who have no intention of returning the love and support we've shown them. And they've treated our country as a dormitory and sometimes as a cash machine to bring their relatives in by the back door. Our constituents are not naive. They know that people of any nationality are capable of sinning, lying and evil. But they do not expect our country to be an offshore prison facility for criminals from all over the world. They elect us to keep people safe in our bed at night and on our streets, to get foreign criminals out of our country and to let their own societies rehabilitate them. Every sovereign nation has the right to control its borders, and this is not far-right rhetoric, it is centre-ground common sense. A new loophole is emerging, ripe for exploitation. This is the fear of persecution if returned on the grounds of religious conversion, especially from Islam to Christianity. Every single person in this chamber, if they are truthful with themselves, can imagine the situation. You are a migrant on the BB Stockholm or in a British jail about to be sent back to Somalia. A nice legal aid lawyer or NGO appears in front of you with a script to follow and explains that a miracle can happen.
As immigration continues to shape the national conversation, an uncomfortable yet vital debate is resurfacing, one that demands the right to truthfully address how asylum and immigration policies impact British communities. Advocates across the political spectrum are calling for an honest reckoning with the challenges of enforcement, the erosion of public trust, and the growing strain on social cohesion. At the heart of the discussion is a troubling statistic. 12,000 foreign national offenders remain in the UK, exploiting legal loopholes and appeals processes that critics argue have become a revolving door of delay tactics. This group, composed of individuals convicted of serious crimes, underscores a systemic failure to uphold the integrity of the nation's laws and the safety of its citizens. Meanwhile, net migration has soared, becoming a major driver of the UK's rapid population growth. While immigration brings undeniable economic and cultural benefits, The sheer scale and pace of recent inflows have raised concerns about housing shortages, pressure on public services, and the ability of local authorities to integrate new arrivals while maintaining community stability. The challenges are not unique to Britain. Across Europe, governments are grappling with the complexities of asylum claims, undocumented migration, and the political fallout from high-profile criminal cases involving foreign nationals. Yet the UK's situation is particularly acute, as courts and administrative agencies face backlogs, appeals pile up, and deportation efforts falter. At the same time, community leaders stress that this is not simply a legal issue, but a cultural one. They warn that failure to enforce immigration laws risks deepening public resentment and fostering divisions that populist movements are all too eager to exploit. Even supporters of liberal immigration frameworks now admit that reforms are urgently needed, not to close Britain's doors, but to restore faith in a system that works fairly and efficiently for all. Proposals under consideration include streamlining deportation procedures, tightening judicial review criteria, and renegotiating international agreements to expedite the return of criminal offenders. As global migration pressures show no sign of abating, the UK faces a stark choice. Will it continue down a path where laws are unevenly applied and national traditions sidelined, or will it reassert the principles of accountability and public safety?
Let's talk about the big story this morning, and this ridiculous trade deal that Keir Starmer has done with India, which apparently makes it better. I said this morning he's done a great deal for working people, and unfortunately it's the working people of India that he's done the deal for.
Look, as a Brexiteer, we want sensible trade deals, but this has turned out, as we feared, not to be a fair and equitable trade deal, because what disgracefully the government didn't mention in their statement in the House of Commons yesterday was anything to do with the movement of people.
Yeah.
And it turns out that Indian workers coming to work in the UK won't have to pay any national insurance on the employer, nor will the employer. So guess what? If an employer in the UK can suddenly employ an Indian worker coming over and save themselves 15% national insurance, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to work out what some employers are going to do. Here's what's really going to happen. You're going to have unscrupulous agencies set up by Indian entrepreneurs claiming to have an office in Delhi, claiming to have an office somewhere like Peterborough or somewhere else in the UK, and they will say that they've got all these employees in India, and they're coming to work for placements in the UK. There is the greatest scam is about to be imposed on the UK.
They'll start up some kind of umbrella organisation, won't they?
They'll create an umbrella agency worker, and they'll say, I'm employing all these people over there, and now I'm employing them here in the UK to second them to other firms. It will result in tens and tens and tens of thousands of low-skilled Indian workers coming to the UK, suddenly claiming all sorts of extra costs and burdens on the UK system, on housing, on healthcare, and the like.
Of course.
And then they'll want dependents, and then after 3 years, because supposedly there is a 3-year cap on this, there'll be a reason to extend it.
We know very well 40,000 of people who have been claiming asylum in the last year were all people from places like India and Pakistan, where basically their visas had run out, and instead of going home, instead of being deported, they're now on the asylum bandwagon, and they'll probably be getting a free house somewhere in Britain because they were awaiting their asylum appeal. And I thought it was really interesting yesterday that the government came out with this crackdown on issuing those visas now, but only to 3 countries: Nigeria, Pakistan and Sri Lanka, not India.
The UK government's much-anticipated trade deal with India is facing sharp criticism from Reform UK Deputy Leader Richard Tice, who warns that the agreement could trigger an influx of low-skilled workers and upend the domestic labour market. Tice didn't mince words. The greatest scam is about to be imposed on the UK, he declared in a statement this week, accusing ministers of selling out British workers in pursuit of flashy international headlines and short-term economic gain. According to Tice, the fine print of the agreement will allow tens of thousands of low-skilled Indian workers to enter the UK. A move he says would strain public services, depress wages, and undermine opportunities for British job seekers. Sources close to the negotiations confirm that increased visa allocations for Indian nationals were a key bargaining chip in securing tariff reductions and market access for British exporters. While government officials insist that any migration pathways will be targeted and controlled, Reform UK argues that past promises of control have repeatedly collapsed under political and business pressures. Labour market advocates also raise concerns about how the deal might affect wage growth and working conditions for Britain's most vulnerable workers. Employers chasing cheap labour is not a sustainable economic strategy, said a spokesperson for the UK Workers' Alliance. It suppresses wages and sidelines investment in domestic skills training. The broader political implications are equally significant. With immigration remaining a top voter concern, particularly in so-called red wall constituencies, TISA's warning taps into deep anxieties about border control, social cohesion, and national sovereignty.